The state of the 49ers roster is very much dependent on who is healthy, and every roster is dependent on who is healthy, but my goodness, it feels that way with the 49ers right now. You feel it differently than we felt it in a while. The best ability is availability, am I right? And I don't know who to blame for it. I'm not even going to bother pointing the blame and saying it's the coaching staff's fault, they're running practices too hard, or it's just bad luck with the 49ers are struggling with availability. I don't know what it is. You can let me know in the comments what you think it is. But as far as I'm concerned, we learned more today about player availability, injury updates, all the good stuff. And it's an important time to be getting some of these updates, and there are some good ones I'm excited to tell you about in a second. If you're new here, I'm Nate. Love talking the 49ers. Please consider a like and sub. If you also love listening and talking about the 49ers and commenting about the 49ers, wide receiver Ricky Pearsall, who suffered a gunshot wound just a few weeks ago, not only managed to survive, but he is close to being practice ready. We learned today that John Lynch on KNBR, we learned from him that Slick Rick is close to suiting up and running elite routes and catching footballs again. And I honestly, I can't believe it. You know, my wife's question like 2 or 3 days after it all went down was a completely fair question. Is he ever going to play football again? And that was a totally fair question for everybody to be wondering. Yet then we learned this 2 days after the incident, he's in the weight room, not doing a whole lot, but he's in the weight room. He's trying to do something. Like, this guy is motivated to be out there and to be on this football team and to contribute and to be here for his rookie season. And you got to give the man incredible credit for that. First round draft pick or not, Kyle Shanahan has always had his particulars about the wide receiver position. So I don't think that this means because he's going to be practicing next week that we can expect him week 5 or week 6 or whatever. I think there's still a little bit of a journey ahead of him. We see that, of course, with Jacob Cowing not getting in the last game against the Rams. If there was ever an opportunity, you got Deebo out, you got George Kittle out, and you have Ronnie Bell out there, and that didn't go so well at moments. And I'm not trying to be hard on Ronnie Bell. You'd like him to catch that football, of course, but I'm just trying to say that if there was ever a time where Jacob Cowing was getting some field time in week 3, that was the opportunity, and he wasn't out there, which tells me that he's not happy. Kyle's not happy with what he's doing yet on the practice field to get him out there ready playing in games. And I know there's a lot that Kyle expects from his wide receivers, and so that's his decision, like it or don't. The good news, though, is that after what we saw out of Ronnie Bell, missing a particularly critical pass, Jacob Cowing's development is getting better. We learned that with many questions being asked to Kyle Shanahan about that. And he's getting close to being trusted by Kyle. Kyle's talking very positively about his development. Our other 2024 draft pick might be on his way soon, too, because Ricky Pearsall is getting healthy. I'm super excited about that. Hey, more injury updates in a second, but first, how badly do the 49ers need to pick up some depth at defensive tackle? I mean, let me know in the comments, guys. Is practice squad depth in T.Y. McGill and Sam Okuwanu enough? Is Robert Beal Jr. coming inside from the edge, which he's done before? Did it in the Super Bowl, I believe. Is that good enough? Is substituting other edge depth like Yetur Gross-Matos, who plays inside and outside, is that where we want to get our inside depth? Or do we need to go out there and go get a guy? For me, it seems that it's mission critical to me to go get a guy. I mean, if you really like what you see in T.Y. McGill, he would have made the starting lineup, I would think. I'm already a little concerned about the edge depth, so I don't want to see the only way we make it through is if our edge guys start playing in the middle. I think having rotations is important on the defensive line, makes it harder on the offensive line, especially on those long drives when they're moving the ball. We saw that with Stafford, moving the ball up the field. It'd be nice to have guys switching out and have some real energy, some real life in that defensive line, and make those tackles, especially on the edge, have to think about different guys. And that's just to get them to trip up. And you only need it to happen one time. Those sacks we did have against the Rams, by the way, were great moments where, like, one of them it made it like a third, I think it was on a third down, or a second down, and so it made it a third and insanely long and, nearly impossible. And you're at that point where, well, if I make a mistake trying to throw the ball this far, then I'm throwing a pick, and it could be a pick six. And so they just run the ball, and they say, this is the end of this drive. We're going to just move on to the next one, right? You love when you can force that to happen. That happens because your rushers are healthy and getting to the quarterback. And we need to see that. We haven't seen enough of that. So in my mind, keep your edge rusher depth there, continue challenging them, and pick up another guy for the defensive tackle position. That's where I'm at. But let me know what you think in the comments. Let's get into Kyle Shanahan's injury update real quick. Kind of starts in the middle of him saying Javon Hargrave is out, which, of course, we're all expecting Javon Hargrave to be on IR sometime before the game. John Lynch, when he was on KMBR, kind of mentioned, part of it is like not, keeping the New England Patriots guessing or whatever about it. Okay. I mean, it's public, is it not? I don't know. Maybe it makes a difference. It doesn't seem like it would to me, but here you go. So the first thing you hear him saying is Hargrave is out. You might not catch the name, so I just want to let you know, and then you'll hear the rest.
Hargrave will be out. Curtis Robinson's out. Deebo Samuel questionable. D. Winters questionable. Jordan Elliott questionable. Huff is questionable. Trent Williams questionable. Go ahead.
Huff's injury?
Rolled his ankle yesterday.
What about Williams?
What's that?
Williams?
Toe.
Is Curtis?
So Hufanga rolled his ankle. Trent Williams hurt his toe. There's a little more information on that. We're not going to worry about that. Curtis Robinson's out with an ACL. That's the next thing that he's about to say there. Not a good situation, guys. Jordan Elliott is questionable because of his little injury yesterday. We got some positive news on that, hopefully. I think I've got that pulled up here. Yeah, right here. We learned this also from John Lynch. Defensive tackle Jordan Elliott stepped on someone's foot. I think it was the last period of practice, kind of rolled his ankle. We feel like we've got some positive news on him. That probably wasn't a typical cart situation where it was more just them wanting to get him inside. So we'll see. We'll call him questionable, I guess. And he ends up being called questionable. So there you go. I don't know what our official, but a lot will be based on how he feels today. I think long-term we feel good about it. So there you go. The defensive tackle depth, while we're on the topic. Got a lot of questionable guys there. But defensive tackle depth, Malik Collins, Kevin Givens, and Jordan Elliott, who is currently questionable. 49ers are likely to elevate T.Y. McGill. I don't know why there's no mention of Sam Okuwanu here. We saw him feature, but maybe I don't think he's still elevated. I don't know. We'll have to see. We can also see Yetur Gross-Matos and Robert Beal Jr. play inside, as both of them have done. YGM's known for it, and Robert Beal has done it before. Curtis, as we learned, I'm not going to read that because he's out, and he's out, like probably out for the season, which is a real shame, guys. Oh, Curtis Robinson's such a great story, taking all the risks, staying with the 49ers and turning down an opportunity to go to Tennessee, play with the Titans. He turned down that opportunity to stay with the 49ers on the practice squad. I mean, he turned down a starting job to stay on this football team last year. And then, after all of that, he makes the 53. What a great story. And all for him to get injured when we really do need that linebacker depth. We need him. We need a guy to come out here and help out. We don't look ready right now. One linebacker on the practice squad is Deshaun White. Other than that, their 7th round rookie Tatum Bethune, D. Winters, who is limited in practice on Thursday, and he's questionable for the game, which leaves Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles as the only other linebacker you'd put on special teams. So Curtis Robinson, who was a special teams guy, that's not a good situation. That's a bummer. I'm feeling bad about that. Friday's important practice, wide receiver Deebo Samuel, who we now know was listed as questionable by Kyle Shanahan. So that's where we're at with the team updates. I might have missed one or two there, but I think that's pretty much everybody. The fact that Deebo is questionable is a good sign. That means that he was still out there. He was out there practicing again today, so that's a good sign. But we'll have to wait and see if he's going to play. I think it's going to be game time decision for him. We'll have to wait and see. Some other things I wanted to throw out there today that are more on a positive note would be Brock Purdy beating those check down merchant allegations here with second most in passing yards, 842 with wide receivers, averaging lowest yards after the catch in NFL. Pretty impressive. That says a lot. That's why he always does well in those air yard stats, right? 49ers have been using Spencer Burford in the offensive tackle position in practice lately. Burford, who played tackle in college, will now be prepared to step up in at guard or tackle if need be. Many coaches on the team believe he can be a starting offensive tackle in the NFL level. So there you go. How about that for Spencer Burford? Even if it's just to say, hey, Colton, don't forget we can replace you. There you go. We'll take that. One more thing that happened today, and I'm not going to go real crazy on it, but I did want to give you just a quick take on it. Kyle Shanahan confronting Brandon Aiyuk today for not following the 49ers dress code. I'll turn the sound off here just in case, but you can see he kind of says something. He chirps back at him. Kyle gets angry, comes over and is like, "What's the deal, man?" And then they're just going off about him showing up in red shorts today for practice. It turns into a very long and looks very tense discussion. I don't need to show you the footage of him taking his shorts off and putting black shorts on, but there was very clearly a lot of tension around it, and just the way that he went about it, his body language, none of this looks good, man. None of it looks good. It all looks nasty, and you can see just like, you got to be kidding me, man. Seriously? That's what we're doing here? So there you go. And he's taking off his cleats and getting all changed up. He's acting like a little bit of a child, tries kicking his shorts a little bit. Like, it's kind of a weird situation. And I think, I'll be honest with you guys, I think most people are overplaying it a little bit. I think that this kind of drama does happen from time to time. Just so happened to get it caught. And I don't even know if calling it a tantrum is totally fair. I think it's a guy pushing back and be like, dude, what's the big deal? I'm wearing red shorts, And you got to get him back in line. And I understand, teams have standards. And it's a team game. Individuals need to show up and need to all agree to the same rules so that all of them can move forward. And what we don't need to see is Brandon Aiyuk back in the doghouse after giving him the money we've given him and after seeing very little production out of him, and with the guaranteed money we've given him in the 70s, I want to say $72 million, excuse me. It's not like a guy we not even just we'll just forget about it. We'll just trade him away. It's a problem. There's a definite issue here, so it does need to be solved. But I don't think people. I think people are blowing it a little out of proportion. Let me know if you disagree in the comments. That's completely fine. I think it's going a little crazy to me. Yes. The guy needs to get out there. He needs to play football. He needs to get his attitude right. He needs to take ownership. All the things. I'm good with all of that. I don't have any issue with all of it. But I don't think this one exact instance is like a telltale sign of how everything's going to explode and he's never going to play football with the 49ers again. I think people are just going a little intense here. This is obviously a sign that things are not perfect and they're not where they want to be. But if he catches that ball, I keep going back to that. If Brock Purdy sees that route and he catches that ball and he takes that to the house, and this happens right here, we probably feel a little bit different about it. I really do believe that. And maybe you can let me know in the comments you don't feel that way, but I feel like it would be a little different. I don't think people would be freaking out as much as they are. So I think people he's fine. He's getting there. He's coming along. He's got a little bit of an attitude, right? A lot of these guys do. This is the National Football League. A lot of these guys do have a lot of pride, and they do have a lot of attitude. Not saying I stand for it. Not saying that I like it. Not saying that I would encourage my own child, who is an athlete, to be like that. But I will say this is not so abnormal that we need to make a massive deal out of this. It doesn't need to be headline on ESPN. It doesn't need to be like that big of a deal. All right? That's just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments. That's totally fine. If you disagree, I look forward to joining you there. As always, we got a big game in 2 days. I'm looking forward to covering it and watching it and cheering for those Niners. Let's go. What a time to be alive.